This is English shorthand dictation number 151 and the dictation speed is 120 words per minute. Ready? Start. Mr. President, I rise to extend my limited and qualified support to the motion moved by Dr. Ambedkar. We, the people of India, have come to the end of a long journey which is actually the beginning of a longer, a more arduous and a more hazardous one. Through several decades of struggle, we have reached the goal of freedom. During those decades, we have passed through many changes of fortune and were guided by great leaders, many of whom are not among us today. True to the Indian genius, our awakening began with a spiritual renaissance which was pioneered by spiritual leaders. In the wake of those spiritual leaders came the political renaissance and the cultural renaissance. Thanks to Providence, leaders of those days, leaders like Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Sardar Patel, are still with us to lead us to the goal which Mahatma Gandhi had in view. The goal that Mahatma Gandhi had in view has not been reached, and to lead India to that goal is the mission of this assembly and of the people of India today. The whole of India took part in that glorious struggle for freedom. In the extreme north, leaders of Kashmir took part in that conflict. In the northwest of India, which unfortunately has been separated from us today, the frontier Gandhi was in the forefront of the national struggle. That part of India is no longer with us, but we hope that whatever the differences between the part that has gone from us and the part that still remains to us, our relations will become happier day by day, and India and Pakistan will live on the most cordial terms as years roll by. The constitution that has been settled by the assembly may be described as a centralized federation with a facade of parliamentary democracy. We have drawn up a very elaborate preamble, but without the invocation of God. To me, it is sounding like brass and tinkling cymbal. We have proclaimed the immutable principles of justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity in the preamble. But if we turn inside, if we go through the Constitution, we will find to our chagrin that these principles have been watered down to a considerable extent. Many of my friends here tried to improve the Constitution according to their best lights, and some of us did succeed in some degree. God did ultimately find a place in the Constitution, though only in the form of the oath to be taken by the various dignitaries of state. We tried in our own way to make the Constitution conform to the preamble, but I found that the horoscope of the drafting committee was strong. Now, to go back to the preamble and the Constitution, I find that so far as justice is concerned, the Constitution amply provides for those who adorn the seats of justice. They are better provided for than those who will resort to the temples of justice. The drafting committee had a soft corner for those eminent dignitaries who will preside in those temples of justice, and not to the humble votaries in the temple. As the Constitution was drafted by lawyers, perhaps the lawyers' bias could not be avoided, and therefore it is that in the Constitution the judges have been unduly pampered. Again, the emergency provisions water down the principle embodied in the preamble regarding individual liberty. They have fettered individual liberty. Let me make it clear that I am not a champion of absolute individual liberty. I want individual liberty only insofar as it does not jeopardize the security of the state. With that end in view, I moved several amendments, but they were not accepted. Then, as regards equality, we find that there are some provisions which confer the same equality as we find between a cat and a mouse, or between a horse and a donkey. As regards fraternity, I feel that we have shown fraternal love and regard for the permanent services, especially the higher services, as well as the high dignitaries of state to whom I have already referred. The provisions regarding the integration of state, for which the credit goes entirely to Sardar Patel, and the provisions regarding minorities, which are there mainly due to his efforts, are all very welcome. Then there is the provision regarding property. We have not made it absolutely justiciable. That is again another good feature of the Constitution. We have guaranteed religious freedom. This is another important thing. We have settled the language question satisfactorily. Then, as referred to by me already, there is the question of the oath. God has been invoked in the oath to be taken by the dignitaries of the state. Then there is provision for village panchayats in the directives of state policy. Though at first the villages were stigmatized as sinks of superstition and ignorance or something like that, it is good that we embodied in the directive principles the salutary provision for village panchayat. These are all good features and I welcome them wholeheartedly. Then we have abolished titles, which were actually vulgar distinctions. Untouchability, which has been a disease in Hindu society, has been abolished. But other features are there which destroy the harmony and the beauty of the Constitution. As I said, we are going to have parliamentary democracy in this country. I hope it will work. Unfortunately, we have several handicaps in our country. We have a fissiparous social system with divisions based on caste and subcaste, creed and religion, and notions of superiority and inferiority, and strong antipathies and jealousies which form an integral part of our psychological setup. These impede the cultivation of a democratic outlook and permeate the very air we breathe. These factors operate subconsciously rather than consciously. Again, sir, of the innumerable points of contact between the citizen and the state, only a microscopic proportion will fall within the jurisdiction of the courts, though vastly extended in the draft constitution. To my mind, they do not furnish the complete mechanics of democracy. They do not solve the problem of taming power. I hope that the democratic spirit of the people who work the Constitution will be adequate to the task. The Constitution itself is only dry bones. After all, it is we, the people of India, who will have to infuse life into these dry bones of the Constitution. I hope it will be worked in a spirit of cooperation, in the spirit of making India a great nation, making it great beacon light to the whole world, under which will gather all the nations of the world to learn the ancient yet ever new gospel of India, the gospel of peace, harmony and love, bathed in the refulgent light of a Himalayan dawn. I would like to make a suggestion about the ceremony we are going to have on the 26th January 1950. I would suggest that the Republic should be proclaimed not at midnight but just before sunrise, as is the custom in our Indian tradition. If we do it just before sunrise, I think it will augur well for the future of our country.